Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Horizon, watching the stars streak past the main viewing screen. The ship hummed quietly as it traveled through deep space, carrying its crew of 200 humans toward their destination. Jake had been a starship captain for 15 years, but this mission felt different. They were going farther from Earth than any human had ever gone before. "Captain, we're approaching the Kepler 442 system," said Commander Alex Stone from his position at the tactical station. Alex was a good officer, steady and reliable. He had served with Jake for 3 years and had never let him down. "Excellent," Jake replied. "Dr. Carter, are your sensors ready?" Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her science station. She was the ship's lead scientist, a woman who had spent her whole career studying the possibility of alien life. "All systems are working perfectly, Captain. If there's anything interesting in this system, we'll find it." Jake nodded. The Kepler 442 system had shown signs of planets that might support life. Earth's government had sent the Horizon to investigate and make contact if they found anything. It was supposed to be a simple exploration mission. What Jake didn't know was that they were being watched not far away. In a space station hidden behind the system's largest moon, alien sensors tracked every movement of the human ship. The station belonged to the Galactic Confederation, a group of 12 different alien species that had worked together for thousands of years. Inside the station, Council Leader Vexstar studied the readings with growing worry. Vexstar was a Zephyrian, a tall, thin alien with gray skin and large black eyes. His species could read minds, which made him very good at understanding other beings. Right now, he was very afraid. "Are you certain these readings are correct?" Vexstar asked his science officer. "Yes, Council Leader. The ship matches all the descriptions from the old records. The energy patterns, the construction methods, even the way they move through space. These are definitely Terrans." Vexstar felt a chill run through his body. Terrans, the name that had frightened the galaxy for centuries. Most species called them something else now, the Dormant war gods. For over 2,000 years, the Confederation had prayed that the legends were just stories. Now they knew the truth. "Send an emergency message to the Council," Vexstar ordered. "Tell them the awakening protocol is now active. The war gods have returned." Back on the Horizon, Jake was completely unaware of the panic he was causing. He walked around the bridge, checking on his crew. Engineer Pete Wilson was monitoring the ship's engines. Medical Officer Dr. Nina Foster was reviewing the crew's health reports. Security Chief Danny Price was running safety checks on all systems. "Captain," Lisa said suddenly, "I'm picking up some unusual energy readings from the third moon." Jake moved to look at her screen. "What kind of readings?" "It's hard to tell. The energy patterns are unlike anything I've seen before. They're very advanced, but they're trying to stay hidden." "Could it be natural?" Jake asked. Lisa shook her head. "No, sir. This is definitely artificial. Someone built something on that moon." Alex looked up from his station. "Captain, should I ready the weapons?" Jake thought for a moment. This was supposed to be a peaceful mission, but they were also very far from home. "Keep the weapons powered. Down for now, but stay alert. We don't want to seem threatening to whoever is out there." On the hidden station, Vexstar was talking to the other council members through a secure communication link. The holographic images of 11 different alien species surrounded him. There was Admiral Vorgak of the insect-like Krillax, Science, Prime Lumara of the energy-based Luminari, and many others. "The situation is worse than we feared," Vexstar explained. "Our analysis shows that these humans have no memory of their past. They think this is their first time leaving their home system." "That's impossible," said Admiral Vorgak, his mandibles clicking nervously. "The Terrans conquered half the galaxy. How could they forget?" "We don't know," Vexstar replied. But our psychological profiles suggest they're operating under the belief that they're peaceful explorers. They have no idea what they're capable of. Science Prime Lumara, whose body was made of pure energy, flickered with concern. This could be even more dangerous. If they don't remember their nature, they might not be able to control it when it awakens. The council members were silent for a long moment. Every species in the Confederation had stories about the Terrans. They were the beings who could turn anything into a weapon, who could adapt to any environment, who could outthink any enemy. Most importantly, they were the species that had once made entire civilizations surrender just by arriving in there. Star systems, what do we do? Asked General Torvak of the Reptilian Sorrows. If we attack them, we'll only wake them up faster. If we ignore them, they might discover the truth on their own. We follow the containment protocol, Vextar decided. We make contact, but we pretend this is first contact for us too. We keep them calm, keep them thinking they're just peaceful explorers. Maybe if we're careful, we can guide them away from their violent nature. And if that doesn't work? Admiral Vorgak asked. Vextar looked at the image of the human ship on his screen. Then we activate the evacuation protocol and hope we can get our people to safety before they remember who they really are. On the horizon, Jake had no idea that his simple exploration mission had just become the most important event in galactic history. He was focused on the energy readings from the moon, wondering if they were about to make first contact with an alien species. Dr. Carter, prepare a standard first contact message, he ordered. Something friendly but not too eager. We want to show we come in peace. Already working on it, Captain, Lisa replied. Jake looked out at the stars and felt excited. Today might be the day humans learned they weren't alone in the universe. He had no idea that the universe had been watching humans for centuries, waiting in fear for this exact moment. The awakening protocol was now active, and there was no turning back. Dr. Lisa Carter finished preparing the first contact message and looked up at Captain Morrison. Message ready, Captain. It's a basic greeting explaining who we are and that we come in peace. Jake nodded. Send it to the energy source on the moon. The message traveled through space in seconds. On the hidden station, Vextar and his team received it and felt their worst fears confirmed. The message was exactly what the old record said Terrans would send. Simple, direct, and seemingly peaceful. But the Confederation knew better. They're following the same pattern as before, Science Officer Kelthara reported. First comes the peaceful contact, then the questions, then the demands for information. Vextar made a decision that would change everything. We respond, but we follow the containment protocol exactly. We pretend this is our first contact too. We show them only what they need to see. Kelthara was a younger Zephyrian, but she had studied human behavior for years. Are you sure this will work? The psychological profiles show they're very good. At detecting lies, we have no choice, Vextar replied. If we don't try, we'll have to evacuate half the galaxy. On the horizon, the crew waited anxiously. Pete Wilson had stopped his engine checks to watch the communication station. Danny Price had moved closer to the bridge, ready for anything. Even Dr. Foster had left her medical bay to see what would happen. Captain, Lisa said suddenly, we're getting a response. The main screen lit up with an image that made everyone gasp. A tall, gray-skinned being with large black eyes looked back at them. Vextar had decided to make contact personally, hoping his telepathic abilities would help him read the human's intentions. Greetings, travelers from the third planet of Sol, Vextar said in perfect English. I am Council Leader Vextar of the Zephyrian people. We welcome you to our region of space. Jake stepped forward. I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earthship. Horizon, we are honored to make first contact with your species. Vexstar almost laughed at the irony. First contact. If only they knew this was actually the continuation of a relationship that had lasted thousands of years. We are curious about your journey, Vexstar continued. You have traveled very far from your home world. We're explorers, Jake explained. We're looking for new worlds and hoping to meet other intelligent species. We come in peace. Those words, "We come in peace," had been heard by the galaxy before. The Confederation had detailed records of the last time humans had said them. Within 100 years, a third of the galaxy had been under Terran control. Of course, Vexstar replied carefully. We would be honored to meet with you. Perhaps you would like to visit our science station? Alex Stone stepped closer to Jake. Captain, I recommend caution. We don't know anything about these beings or their intentions. Jake looked at his tactical officer. Alex was right to be careful, but this was exactly the kind of opportunity they had come here to find. We'll take a small team. Dr. Carter, you're with me. Commander Stone, you too. Pete, keep the ship ready. Yes, sir, Pete replied. But he looked worried. What the humans didn't know was that the Zephyrian station was actually a massive military complex hidden by advanced technology. As Jake's shuttle approached, dozens of alien ships moved into position around the area. They weren't there to attack. They were there to watch and record everything the humans did. Calvara met them at the docking bay. She was nervous, but tried to hide it. Welcome to Research Station Nexus 7, she said. We are honored by your visit. Lisa looked around the station with excitement. The technology was clearly advanced, but something seemed odd. This equipment looks very sophisticated, but some of it seems ... simplified. Kelthara's heart's oath skipped a beat. The humans were already noticing things they shouldn't. We believe in making our tools easy to use, she said quickly. As they toured the station, Alex became more suspicious. The aliens seemed to know exactly where to take them and what to show them. They answered questions too quickly, as if they had prepared for this conversation. How long have your people been spacefaring? Jake asked. Several thousand years, Vexstar replied. We have met many species in our time. Have you ever encountered beings like us before? Lisa asked. Vexstar paused for just a moment too long. Every species is unique in its own way. Alex caught the hesitation. He had been trained to notice when people were hiding something. You didn't answer the question. I'm sorry? Vexstar said. Dr. Carter asked if you'd met beings like us before. You said every species is unique, but that's not an answer. Kelthara jumped in quickly. What the council leader means is that while we have met many species, each one has surprised us in different ways. We find your species particularly interesting. Interesting? How? Jake asked. The question hung in the air. Vexstar knew that any answer could be dangerous. If he said humans were physically impressive, they might start to wonder about their capabilities. If he said they were mentally advanced, they might start to question their peaceful nature. Your technology is very creative, he said finally. The way you build your ships, the way you organize your crew, it shows great potential. Meanwhile, throughout the galaxy, the Confederation was preparing for the worst. Fleet Admiral Vorgak was positioning Krillak's battle groups at key points, not to fight, but to help evacuate civilian populations if needed. The Luminari were preparing to move their energy-based cities to safer dimensions. The Soros were digging deep bunkers on their homeworld. Back on the station, Pete Wilson was growing more concerned. The energy readings he was getting from the horizon showed that the alien station was much larger than they had been told. In fact, it looked like it might be a military facility. Captain, Pete's voice came through Jake's communicator. I'm getting some strange readings. This place is a lot bigger than they're showing us. Jake looked at Vexstar. Is there more to this station than we've seen? All stations have areas that are not suitable for visitors, Vexstar replied carefully. Storage areas, maintenance sections, private quarters. Alex was now certain they were being deceived. Captain, I think we should return to the ship. Some things. Not right here. Lisa was torn. The scientific opportunity was incredible, but Alex's instincts were usually correct. I have to agree with Alex. They're being very careful about what they show us. Jake made a decision. We thank you for your hospitality, but we should return to our ship. Perhaps we can continue our discussions there. Vexstar felt relief and terror at the same time. The humans were leaving, which was good, but they were suspicious, which was very bad. Suspicious humans were dangerous humans. Of course, Vexstar said. We hope to continue our friendship. As the human shuttle departed, Kalthara turned to her leader. They know we're hiding something. I know. Vexstar replied. Contact the Council. Tell them the situation is getting worse. The humans are starting to ask the right questions. On the horizon, Jake called a meeting of his senior officers. I want to know what everyone thinks about our new friends. Alex spoke first. They're lying to us, Captain. I don't know about what, but they're definitely not telling us the truth. I agree, Lisa said. The technology they showed us doesn't match the energy readings I'm getting. They have much more advanced equipment than they're admitting. Pete nodded. The station is at least 10 times larger than they claimed. And I'm detecting multiple power sources that they didn't mention. Jake looked out at the stars. They're peaceful. First contact was turning into something much more complicated. He had no idea that his suspicions were about to wake up something that had been sleeping for 2,000 years. The containment protocol was failing, and the galaxy was running out of time. Kalthara couldn't sleep. She had been pacing her quarters for hours, thinking about the human delegation's visit. Their questions had been too sharp, too focused. Commander Stone had looked at her like he could see right through her lies. Made a decision that would change everything. Walking to her communication panel, she sent a message to the human ship. Captain Morrison, this is Science Commander Kalthara. I need to speak with you privately. There are things you need to know. On the horizon, Jake was in his ready room reviewing the day's events when the message arrived. He looked at the screen showing the young Zephyrian's face. She looked scared and tired. What kind of things? Jake asked. Things about your people. About why we're really here. Captain, nothing we told you today was completely true. Jake called his senior officers to his ready room. Within minutes, Alex, Lisa, Pete, and Danny were gathered around the communication screen. We're listening, Jake said. Kalthara took a deep breath. Your people aren't new to this galaxy, Captain. You've been here before, a long time ago. That's impossible, Lisa said. Humans have never left the solar system before this mission. The humans who live on Earth now haven't, Kalthara agreed. But your ancestors did. They built an empire that covered half the galaxy. They were the most feared species in known space. The room fell silent. Alex was the first to speak. You're saying humans conquered half the galaxy? Not conquered, Kalthara corrected. Dominated. There's a difference. Your people didn't just defeat their enemies. They made them irrelevant. The galaxy called them the Terrans, but we have another name for them. What name? Jake asked quietly. The Dormant War Gods. Danny Price laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. War gods? Lady, I think you've been reading too many stories. I wish I had, Kalthara replied. Captain, I want to show you something. Will you come with me to a different place? Somewhere we keep the old records? Jake looked at his officers. They all seemed stunned by what they were hearing. Where? Jake asked. A place called Nexus Prime. It's not far from here. It's where we keep the Galactic archives. And you'll show us proof of these claims? I'll show you everything. Kelthara promised. But Captain, once you see this, you can't unsee it. Your people will never be the same. 2 hours later, the Horizon was following a Zephyrian ship toward a massive space station. Nexus Prime was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It was the size of a small moon, covered in towers and domes that seemed to stretch forever. How old is this place? Lisa asked as they docked. About 3,000 years, Kelthara replied. It was built after the Terrans left. Left? Alex said. You mean they just disappeared? That's exactly what I mean. One day they controlled thousands of worlds. The next day, they were gone. They went back to their home system and never came out again. Kelthara led them through corridors filled with beings from dozens of different species. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. Some looked afraid. Others looked curious. A few looked angry. Why are they all looking at us? Pete asked. Because you're the first Terrans they've ever seen, Kelthara explained. To them, you're walking legends. They entered a massive chamber filled with holographic displays. The walls showed images of space battles, destroyed planets, and alien fleets fleeing in terror. This is the Hall of Memory, Kelthara said. Everything that happened during the Terran Empire is recorded here. She activated a display that showed a star map. Red areas covered nearly half the galaxy. This is how much space your people controlled at their peak, she explained. Over 10,000 star systems, billions of worlds. Lisa studied the map. How is this possible? Humans have never had this kind of technology. You didn't need advanced technology, Kelthara said. You had something better. You had the ability to adapt to anything, to turn any situation to your advantage. She showed them another display. This one showed human soldiers fighting alien armies. The humans were outnumbered 100 to 1, but they were winning. Your people could take any weapon and make it better, Kelthara continued. They could enter any battlefield and find a way to win. They could negotiate with any species and somehow get everything they wanted. But why did they leave? Jake asked. If they were so powerful, why did they just disappear? Nobody knows, Kelthara admitted. One day, all the Terran fleets just left. They went back to Sol and never came out again. We thought they were gone forever. Alex was staring at an image of a human commander directing a battle. The face looked familiar somehow. These people, they look like us, but they seemed so different. They were different, Kelthara agreed. They were harder, more focused. They seemed to understand war in a way that other species never could. Danny was looking at tactical displays. These battle plans are incredible. I've never seen anything like them. Your people wrote the book on tactical warfare, Kelthara sighed. Every military academy in the galaxy still studies Terran battle strategies. Pete was examining technical displays. Wait a minute. Some of these ship designs look familiar. They're like advanced versions of what we use now. Because you're the same species, Kelthara explained. You've been isolated on Earth for 2,000 years, but you're still Terrans. You still have the same abilities. But we're not violent, Lisa protested. Earth is peaceful now. We haven't had a major war in over a century. Because there was no one to fight, Kelthara replied. You were alone on your world. But Captain, what do you think would happen if Earth was threatened? What would your people do? Jake thought about it. We'd defend ourselves. And if the threat was too big for Earth to handle alone? We'd find allies. We'd build better weapons. We'd do whatever it took to protect our home. Exactly, Kelthara said. That's what makes you Terrans. You don't give up. You don't accept defeat. You adapt and overcome. She led them to another display. This one showed the current galaxy, with all the Confederation species marked in different colors. Every species you see here came together for one purpose, she explained. To make sure that if the Terrans ever returned, we'd be ready. Ready? For what? Alex asked. Ready to run, Kelthara said simply. Captain, the Confederation has been preparing for your return for 2,000 years. We have evacuation plans for every major world. We have refugee ships ready to carry billions of people to safety. You're afraid of us, Jake realized. Terrified. Kelthara confirmed. And now that you're here, we don't know what to do. You seem peaceful, but so did your ancestors at first. Jake looked at his officers. They all seemed to be struggling with what they were learning. What do you want from us? We want you to stay peaceful, Kelthara said. We want you to be different. From your ancestors. We want you to prove that the Terrans have changed. And if we can't, Lisa asked, then the galaxy will burn, Kelthara replied. Because this time we won't just run. This time we'll fight back. And a war between the Confederation and the Terrans would destroy everything. Jake turned to his crew. We need to contact Earth. They need to know about this. No, Kelthara said quickly. Captain, if Earth learns about the Terran Empire, what do you think will happen? Do you think they'll be content to stay peaceful explorers? Jake thought about it. She was right. If Earth learned that humans had once ruled half the galaxy, some people would want to do it again. So what do we do? He asked. We wait, Kelthara said. We watch. We hope that you really are different from your ancestors. But as they prepared to leave Nexus Prime, none of them knew that the waiting was almost over. Somewhere in the galaxy, other forces were already moving, and they would soon test whether the Terrans had really changed, or if they were still the war gods of the galaxy. Remembered, the revelation was complete, but the real test was just beginning. 3 days after the revelation at Nexus Prime, Captain Jake Morrison was still trying to process what he had learned. The horizon had returned to the Kepler 442 system, but nothing felt the same. Every time he looked at his crew, he wondered. If they were really the peaceful explorers, they thought they were Dr. Lisa Carter had been running tests on the crew's brain patterns, looking for signs of the dormant abilities Kelthara had mentioned. So far, she had found nothing unusual, but she kept searching. Captain, Alex Stone called from his station. We're getting a transmission from Earth Command. It's Admiral Roy Barnes. Jake straightened up. Roy Barnes was his old commanding officer, a man he respected greatly. Put him through. The main screen showed a gray-haired man in his 60s. Admiral Barnes had been a starship captain himself before taking command of Earth's deep space operations. Jake. Good to see you, Barnes said. I'm calling because we've lost contact with the colony ship Endeavor. They were supposed to check in yesterday. Where were they headed? Jake asked. The Tau Ceti system. About 2 light years from your position. I'm sending you their last known coordinates. Jake felt a chill. The Tau Ceti system was on the edge of Confederation space. Sir, we may have a problem. We've made contact with several alien species in this region. The situation is ... complicated. How complicated? Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was listening carefully. I'll send you a full report, but sir, we may need backup. Already on it? Barnes replied. I'm bringing a small fleet to your position. We'll be there in 4 days. After the communication ended, Jake called a meeting of his senior officers. I need to know everyone's thoughts on our situation. Pete Wilson spoke first. Captain, I've been thinking about what the aliens told us. If we really are descendants of this Terran Empire, maybe we should be proud of it. Proud of conquest? Dr. Nina Foster asked. Proud of making other species afraid? Proud of being successful, Danny Price said. Look, I don't like the idea of hurting innocent people, but the galaxy is a dangerous place. Maybe our ancestors knew something we don't. That's exactly the kind of thinking that worries me, Lisa said. We're starting to change just from learning about our past. Alex was quiet for a moment. Captain, I've been studying the tactical records they showed us. The strategies, the way they fought. It's like I can understand them, like they make sense to me in a way they shouldn't. Jake felt the same thing. The battle plans had seemed familiar, as if he had seen them before. Are we becoming something different? Or maybe we're becoming what we always were, Pete said. Their discussion was interrupted by an alarm. Alex checked his instruments quickly. Captain, we have incoming ships. Multiple contacts, moving fast. Confederation ships? Jake asked. No. Sir, these are different. The design doesn't match anything in our database. On the main screen, a dozen alien ships appeared. They were sleek and deadly looking, with weapons that were already charging. Captain, came a harsh voice over the communication system. I am War Prime Sector of the Krillax Rebellion. You will surrender immediately. Jake stood up. This is Captain Morrison of the Earthship Horizon. Why are you attacking us? Because you are Terrans, Sector replied. For 2,000 years, the galaxy has lived in fear of your return. Today, that fear ends. We're not here to fight anyone, Jake said. We're explorers. Lies, Sector snarled. All Terrans lie. You came here to reclaim your empire. We will not allow it. The Krillax ships opened fire without warning. Energy beams struck the Horizon's shields, making the ship shake violently. Return fire, Jake ordered. Alex's hands moved over his controls, with a speed that surprised him, firing all weapons. The Horizon's guns struck back, but the enemy ships were fast and well-armed. More hits struck the hull, and damage reports began coming in. Hull breach on Deck 7, Nina reported. Emergency teams responding. They're too fast, Pete said. We can't match their speed. Jake studied the tactical display. 12 enemy ships against one human vessel. In any normal battle, they would lose quickly. But as he watched the enemy movements, he began to see patterns. Alex, come about to bearing 270. Fire at the lead ship, then immediately turn to bearing 155. Sir, that will put us in range of 3 more enemy ships. Trust me. Alex followed the orders. The Horizon fired at the lead ship, damaging it badly. Then it turned directly toward 3 more enemy vessels. The Krillax ships fired at where they thought the Horizon would be, but Jake had already ordered another course change. Fire at the second ship, then dive below the plane of battle, Jake ordered. The tactic worked perfectly. The Krillax ships collided with each other, trying to follow the Horizon's unexpected movements. 2 of them were destroyed in the collision. How did you know they would do that? Alex asked. Jake didn't answer because he didn't know. The strategy had just seemed obvious to him, as if he had used it before. Captain, Pete called out, engine power is dropping. We can't keep this up much longer. Jake looked at the tactical display again. 10 enemy ships left. The Horizon was damaged and getting worse. In a normal battle, they would have to retreat or surrender, but something was happening to Jake's mind. The battle strategies from Nexus Prime were becoming clearer. He could see the entire battle like a chess game, with moves and countermoves, stretching out ahead of him. Danny, can you modify the shield generators to create a feedback pulse? Yes, sir. But why would we want to do that? Because it will overload their targeting systems. Pete, can you reroute power from life support to the engines? That's dangerous, Captain. If the engines overload, they won't, Jake said, with a confidence he didn't understand. Alex, prepare to fire all weapons at these coordinates. Jake was pointing at empty space, but somehow he knew the enemy ships would be there in exactly 30 seconds. The modifications were completed quickly. The horizon's shields pulsed outward, creating electromagnetic interference that blinded. The Krillax ships. A human vessel accelerated on its new course, using the speed boost from the rerouted power. Exactly 30 seconds later, 3 Krillax ships appeared at the coordinates Jake had indicated. The horizon's weapons were waiting for them. The enemy ships were destroyed instantly. The remaining 7 ships tried to regroup, but Jake was already 3 moves ahead of them. "Fire torpedoes at the asteroid field," he ordered. "Sir, the enemy." "Ships aren't near the asteroid field," Alex pointed out. "They will be." The torpedoes struck the asteroids, creating a cloud of debris that moved toward the battle area. The Krillax ships, trying to escape the Horizon's superior tactics, flew directly into the debris cloud. Their ships were too damaged to continue fighting. "This is War Prime Sector," came a weak voice over the communication system. How did you do that?" Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was staring at him with a mixture of admiration and fear. Alex's hands were shaking. Pete was looking at his control panel as if he couldn't believe what he had done. "We defended ourselves," Jake said simply. "Impossible," Sector replied. "No species fights like that. Only the Terrans could have ... The communication went dead as Sector's ship lost power. Dr. Foster was the first to speak. "Captain, what happened to us during that battle?" Jake sat down heavily in his command chair. "I don't know. I could see the entire battle in my mind. Every move, every strategy. It was like I had done it before." "We all felt it," Alex said quietly. "When you gave me those orders, I knew exactly what you wanted me to do. It was like the information was already in my head." Pete nodded. "The engine modifications, the power rerouting. I knew how to do things I'd never learned." Lisa was checking her readings. "Captain, I'm detecting changes in all our brain patterns. Neural pathways that were dormant are now active." "The pathways that make us Terrans," Danny said. Jake looked at the tactical display. The battle was over, but he could still see it in his mind. Every move had been perfect, every strategy flawless. They had defeated 12 enemy ships without losing a single crew member. "Captain," Alex said, "the Confederation fleet is approaching." They monitored the entire battle. On the main screen, Vextar's face appeared. The Zephyrian leader looked terrified. "Captain Morrison, are you all right?" "We're fine," Jake replied. "We defended ourselves." "Captain, do you understand what you just did?" "You fought like ... like Terrans," Jake finished. "Yes, I know." "The galaxy saw this battle," Vextar said quietly. "Everyone knows now. The war gods have awakened." Jake looked at his crew, then back at the screen. "What happens now?" "Now," Vextar said, "we find out if you're going to be our salvation or our destruction." The test was over. The humans had proven they were still Terrans. But that was only the beginning of their real challenge. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. Within hours, every major world knew that the Terrans had returned and that they still knew how to fight. Some species began immediate evacuation procedures. Others prepared for war. A few simply waited to see what would happen next. On the horizon, Captain Jake Morrison was dealing with changes he didn't fully understand. The battle with the Krillax had awakened something in his crew. They moved differently now, thought differently. Dr. Lisa Carter's brain scans showed that neural pathways, which had been dormant for generations, are now fully active. "Captain," Alex Stone reported, "Admiral Barnes has arrived with the fleet." The main screen showed 5 Earthships approaching their position. Jake felt relief at seeing friendly vessels, but he also felt something else. The ships looked small and weak compared to what he now knew was possible. His ancestors had built vessels that could conquer star systems. These ships could barely defend themselves. Admiral Roy Barnes came aboard the Horizon immediately. He was a man Jake had always respected, but now Jake found himself analyzing Barnes's military tactics and finding them lacking. "Jake," I heard. "About the battle," Barnes said as he entered the bridge. 12 ships against 1. How did you survive?" "We adapted," Jake replied simply. Barnes studied the damage reports. "Your tactics were incredible. I've never seen anything like them. Where did you learn to fight like that?" "I didn't learn it," Jake said. "I remembered it." He explained everything to Barnes. The meeting with the Confederation, the revelation about the Terran Empire, the awakening that had happened during the Yaw. Battle. Barnes listened in growing amazement. "So you're saying humans once ruled half the galaxy?" "According to the records, yes." Barnes looked around the bridge at Jake's crew. "And now these abilities are coming back?" "It seems that way," Dr. Carter confirmed. "The neural changes are permanent. We're becoming something we've never been before, or maybe something we always were." A message came in from Nexus Prime. Vextar requested an immediate meeting with both Jake and Admiral Barnes. When they arrived at the massive station, they found representatives from all 12 Confederation species waiting for them. The chamber was tense. Some aliens looked afraid. Others looked angry. A few seemed resigned to whatever was coming. "Humans of Earth," Vextar began, "the galaxy has watched your awakening. We must now decide what this means for all of us." Admiral Vorgak of the Krillax stepped forward. His insect-like features showed barely controlled rage. "War Prime Sector acted without orders, but many in our species agree with him. The Terrans must not be allowed to rebuild their empire." "We don't want an empire," Admiral Barnes said. "We want peace." "That's what the old Terrans said too," General Torvak of the Soros replied. "They always came in peace, until they didn't." "Science." Prime Lumara flickered with energy as she spoke. "The question is not what you want now. The question is what you will want as more of your people awaken." "Captain Morrison, what will happen when Earth learns about the Terran Empire?" Jake thought about it carefully. "Some people will want to reclaim it. Others will want to hide from it. Most will want to use the knowledge to protect Earth." "And if another species threatens Earth?" Vextar asked. "We would defend ourselves," Barnes replied, "with Terran tactics, if necessary." The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. If Earth was threatened, the humans would become the war gods again. And once awakened, they might not go back to sleep. "There is another option," Kelthara said quietly. "The humans could choose to be something different this time." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "Your ancestors used their abilities to conquer. You could use them to protect." "Protect what?" Barnes asked. "Everything," she replied. "The galaxy faces threats that none of our species can handle alone. Pirates from beyond our borders, ancient machines that still follow old programming, species that see negotiation as weakness. The Confederation has always struggled against these threats." Vextar understood immediately. "You're suggesting a partnership." "I'm suggesting the humans become what they were always meant to be," Kelthara said. "Guardians instead of conquerors." Jake looked at the assembled aliens. "What would that mean?" "It would mean accepting responsibility for the safety of the galaxy," Vextar explained. "Using your abilities to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Becoming the shield instead of the sword." "And in return?" Barnes asked. "In return, the Confederation would support you. We would share our knowledge, our resources, our friendship. Together, we could build something better than either the old Terran Empire or the current Confederation." Admiral Vorgak clicked his mandibles angrily. "You want to put the war gods in charge of galactic security? That's insane." "Is it?" Kelthara challenged. "Look at what Captain Morrison did. He didn't destroy sector ships when he could have. He disabled them. He chose mercy when he could have chosen victory. Jake remembered the battle. She was right. At several points, he could have destroyed the enemy ships completely. Instead, he had chosen to disable them, to end the fight without unnecessary killing. That's the difference, Kelfara continued. The old Terrans fought to win. These Terrans fought to protect. That gives me hope. The debate continued for hours. Some species were afraid to trust the humans. Others were afraid not to. In the end, it came down to a simple vote. All in favor of the Terran Protectorate proposal? Vexstar asked. 7 species voted yes. 4 voted no. 1 abstained. The motion passes, Vexstar announced. The humans will be offered the chance to become the galaxy's guardians. Jake looked at Admiral Barnes. This decision would change everything. For Earth, for humanity, for the entire galaxy. I'll need to discuss this with Earth Command, Barnes said. Of course, Vexstar replied. But Captain Morrison, what is your personal opinion? If Earth agrees to this arrangement, would you accept? The responsibility? Jake thought about his crew, about the changes they were going through, about the abilities they were developing. He thought about the choice between becoming conquerors or guardians. Yes, he said finally, but only if we do it right. Only if we remember that strength exists to protect the weak, not to dominate them. 3 months later, the USS Horizon was part of a joint fleet patrolling the galaxy's outer rim. The crew was mixed now, with humans working alongside Zephyrians, Krillax, and others. Jake's tactical abilities had continued to develop, but he used them to plan defensive strategies and rescue operations. Dr. Carter had discovered that the awakening process was spreading to other humans as they encountered dangerous situations. Earth had agreed to the Protectorate arrangement, but with strict guidelines about how the abilities could be used. Captain, Alex reported, we're receiving a distress call from the Vega system. Unknown attackers are threatening a civilian colony. Jake studied the tactical display. The enemy ships were powerful and aggressive, exactly the kind of threat the Protectorate had been formed to handle. Set course for Vega, he ordered. All ships, prepare for combat operations. As the fleet jumped hyperspace, Jake made a log entry. Captain's log, stardate 2387.248. We are responding to a threat against innocent civilians. 6 months ago, I thought I was a peaceful explorer. Today, I know I'm something more. We all are. We are the guardians the galaxy needs, the protectors. It deserves. We are Terrans, but we choose to be better than our ancestors. We choose to be what we were always meant to be. He paused, looking out at the stars rushing past. The war gods are awake, but this time we fight for peace. And that, perhaps, is what makes us truly human. The galaxy was no longer afraid of the Terrans. Instead, they looked to them for protection. And the humans, despite their fearsome reputation, had chosen to be the guardians their power demanded them to be. The dormant war gods had awakened, not to conquer, but to protect. And the galaxy was safer for it.